10 Minutes to Joy is your weekly invitation to reset, recharge, and rediscover your most joyful self through aha moments and simple energy techniques. You're listening to holistic psychotherapist Sylvia Plester-Silk. I've worked with individuals, couples, and groups from parole officer to private practice. I've learned many lessons, and I'm ready to share. Listen up. Today, I want to talk to you about the power of living with no regrets. How do we do that? We stop and we start to ask ourselves and tune into our gut feelings and our emotions before we share our choice. Okay, we've all had those situations in our lives when we wished we had said the two-letter word no, but instead we said yes. Perhaps you took on an extra project at work. Perhaps you said yes to an activity you really dislike because there was some peer pressure, there was guilting, there was manipulation, or you simply didn't want to hurt a friend or family member. Or you said no when you really, truly wanted to say yes. Perhaps it was a trip. Perhaps it was a potential hobby or a job. But inside yourself, you shrunk and you told yourself, I'm not good enough. I won't succeed. I don't think I have enough confidence or similar thing. So, how do we know what yes feels like and what no feels like for us in a very, very genuine way? Because when we're disingenuous with ourselves, we end up feeling regret. Okay. So over a year ago, I talked about feel those feels. Might want to go back and visit it. It's one of my very first podcast episodes. Today, what I'm talking about more is allowing yourself to have a depth and level of truth within yourself. If we're a tree and we're not well anchored, and we allow the breeze of other people's opinions, other people's expectations to make our choices, we're probably going to have our roots torn out. We're going to not feel grounded and not be sure of ourselves. Conversely, if we ground ourselves and go, okay, I have this opportunity or this request or this obligation, how do I really feel? So for me, I can feel it physically in my gut as intuition, and I've overridden it. I can feel sometimes it's just like oh, red flag, red flag, red flag. And I choose to drive right by it and end up in regret. Okay, I don't want to do that anymore to myself. And I really don't want that for you either. So we really need to go in and say, I want to do this. And when I say I want to do another book, what does that feel like in my body? I don't want to write another book. What does that feel like in my body? And really just giving ourselves some time. So often I do, and maybe you do too, make decisions quickly because there's exterior pressure, or you think internally you better answer really quick or you might lose out on an opportunity. Okay, let's slow down, pause. What I'm attracted to about this and what I'm detracted about, or really kind of feeling icky. Yes, I know it's a technical term about, so that you can allow yourself to go beyond the surface shoulding on ourselves to what feels genuine. Because when we're ignoring or not taking the time to listen within, we tend to make bad decisions. And when we listen and really tune in and are honest, we make infinitely better decisions. Today, I don't have a specific story for you, although I could come up with a few that I may have talked about in the past. I remember the memory of one office is coming to mind when I pushed through and said yes to an office, and my gut was saying don't. And ending up later actually having lawyers involved to get out of the situation because the landlord was so abusive. I've done it with friends too. Have you ever said to yourself, a good friend does XYZ? A good employee does XYZ? That's an incredibly creative way of shoulding on yourself. So instead, just take that time out. Give yourself 24 hours, 48 hours. If the other person's in a rush and needs an answer, if you say no, trust that the right opportunity will come. And so often that's happened. When I've said no to a client that isn't a good fit, I often will then quickly have the universe reward me or respond by sending me an ideal client. And when I say yes to an ideal client, then again, the universe stops sending the clients that aren't a good fit for me, that wouldn't be happy or find me helpful. So, one, get super clear on yourself. Just give yourself permission to be honest. Give yourself permission to say, I want to run for the hills. Oh, okay. So I want to run for the hills. Why do I want to run for the hills and say no to this? Well, I really want to run for the hills because I don't think I'm skilled enough. Okay, that's self-doubt. Is it accurate? I want to run from the hills because there's something that feels really manipulative about the situation and I don't want to go any closer. Okie dokie, now we're talking. Now we're getting more into how you're feeling internally. And there's something not clean and clear about the invitation. So pause till it gets clear. I have a friend that will pause in making decision making till it's almost irritating. And yet a part of me respects her completely for it because she's taking the time till she knows whether it's a yes or no. And you know what? People wait for her. They don't cut her off. And if you're saying yes, ask yourself, why are you saying yes? Well, are you saying yes because you're afraid you'll disappoint somebody else? You're afraid you can't get a better opportunity? You're afraid that this is your one and only chance to go somewhere or do something? If you're making a decision out of fear, it's probably not a clean and clear decision. So work through that fear. How do you do that? Read my book, Healing is Possible, the 10 Things You Need to Know to Heal, and work through that chapter. So as we go through this, you're getting a sense of sometimes we say yes or no out of fear. Sometimes we say yes or no out of obligation or expectation. But the magic comes when we say no because we genuinely, in our heart of hearts, are aligned with the no. And when we say yes, and we are genuinely aligned in our hearts of hearts with a yes, I want that opportunity. That is where growth can happen. That is when you have just the utmost respect for yourself. You may get change back messages, you may get guilt messages, But that's all about that other person. It's about having that personal integrity, that giving yourself that permission to really take the time to tune in and decide from a clear place, not a, ooh, I can't do it and I'm insecure and I doubt myself, or a place of, oh, I better grab this opportunity because I'll never get anything better. It is time to really honor yourself in 2026 and stop answering before you're ready to answer. Take your time. I need some time to think about this. Maybe the most appropriate response. I will get back to you when I've made my decision. And if they come back to you, well, we need our decision right now, and it's not a pure yes, and it's not based on fear and avoidance, then maybe your answer is a no, or vice versa. It may be a yes. So really tune in, take the time, look at it from several angles. How's my body responding to it? What's the vibe I'm getting from it? How am I emotionally feeling? What am I afraid of in this situation? And what am I drawn to in this situation? And look at it from all of those angles. And when it's a yes, say yes. When it's a no, say no. This week, I invite you to listen up to yourself and make choices that are most aligned with your internal desires. That's all for today. Remember, your past doesn't need to define your future. You get to choose. Keep moving forward. See you next week on 10 Minutes to Joy.